So I've actually known Stefan for 2.5 years at this point. He's initially came through six-figure SMA, been to the Meridian Mastermind, and then joined AI, is also now in copy paste agency, and he is an absolute beast. We get pretty technical here, or try to get as technical as possible in this interview, talking about real estate agents, who he serves right now in Holland, and then now transitioning to the US as well. And yeah, he's doing around 12,000 a month from his agency. So no further ado, let's roll. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another student interview. We are here with Mr. Andjelovic. Did I get it right?
Yes.
Stefan Andjelovic, there we go.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm excited to get into this. We have a long background together. I think we've known each other for what, like 3 years?
Yeah, something like that. 2-3 years, I think.
Probably like two and a half ish.
Two and a half. Yeah.
Anyways, long time.
It's been a long.
But long story short, you've come through six-figure SMA, you've been to Meridian Mastermind, then AI, now copy paste agency, and over the past 2 years, you've just, no other way to say it than just killed it with your agency. So, you want to tell them a little bit about yourself, who you serve, what market, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, sure. First of all, I want to say pleasure being here. Iman, thank you so much for taking the time to invite me over here. I've been watching a couple of the student interviews, and I was so excited when you shot me a message like, "Oh, would you want to do an interview?" I was like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, let's do this." Anyhow, my name is Stefan, 23 years old. I'm based in the Netherlands. I don't know if I'm the first person based from the Netherlands that you're doing an interview with.
I think potentially, yeah. No, I think, yeah.
Well, pleasure once again. But anyhow, I've had my agency for about 2 to 3 years, I would say. And it's been going up and down, contractions, expansions all over the place. And I don't know, can I give like a background story immediately?
Yeah, go for it.
My agency and everything is awesome.
No,
so 2-3 years
much
ago,
as possible.
Awesome, great. So basically, I started out 3 to 4 years ago, kind of in the entrepreneur space, watching Gary Vaynerchuk, like thinking that I needed to post like 50 stories a day on my Instagram and post like all kinds of different stuff, watching Tony Robbins and all those kinds of people. But then I quickly realized like, okay, I'm doing this vlogging stuff. I'm doing this Instagram posting stuff, but I'm not getting anything in return. So that's when I actually found Iman and a couple of other different entrepreneurs. But with him, I was like, okay, this dude is 16, 17 years old. He's at a crib in Spain with a lot of girls, sitting in a Jaguar from the ad. And then I watched, like, I was like, okay, I'm interested. Let me see a little bit more. So I dug deep and found a lot of information what he was doing. So I was like, okay, this social media marketing thing sounds interesting. Let me give it a shot. Let me try it out. Ended up enrolling into six-figure SMMA back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dude, this is the most fucking amazing thing that I've ever seen in my life. I need to do this. And then kind of it sparked kind of the flame for myself. I then started, I think 2.5 years ago, in May 2018, is when I first like really started with it. I was already building it up, but I started with it, and that's where I'm at right now. So 2-3 years later down the line, I'm sitting here in an interview with you, and it's been a journey, man. I have to say it's been a long time, but I've been chipping away at it every single day and still doing as it is for today. But it's funny to see if you just keep on doing the thing that you want to do and set your goals and just align everything else will just fall in place for yourself. So it's been funny to see how the journey has gone so far.
Could you get a little bit more specific on how your agency has morphed? Because I feel as though a lot of agency owners don't realize, at least when they start, that like you're probably going to go through a few different iterations of your agency, a few different iterations of the sort of niches you work with, as well as potentially even a few different iterations of like the sort of client you want to work with. Initially, the sort of client you think you want may not be 3 years down the line the sort of client that you're looking to attract.
Sure. Yeah. To give you like a sort of perspective of how I started. So just like I said, 2.5 years ago, I started setting everything up. Didn't have a clue as to what I needed to do. I remember I had a script, like a sales script. And I knew like a woman who had a e-commerce business who was an acquaintance of mine, who I've also done some work with before I started with the marketing agency and everything else. And I ended up hitting her up with my partner back in the day. And I was like, yo, Natasha, like it was my first contact. And she was like, oh yeah, sure, let's do a meeting. I was like, oh yeah, I would like to do a meeting with you, see if you're a potential client with me. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. So I sat down with her. I remembered this, like vividly remember this. I was sitting down with her. I was reading like the entire script out of the top of my head. I remembered everything. And I said like, yes.
By the way, by the way, how many coffees do you go through in that meeting?
I don't know, dude. I was on some serious shit back in the day.
Because, dude, honestly, like this is just one thing I always find funny in Holland. Because I signed quite a few clients in Holland in 2017. You cannot have a meeting with someone without having 4 coffees. There's a coffee when you sit down, like a quarter break, another quarter break, and then a coffee right before you leave. But sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, true. No. I was on some serious shit. So now I'm only doing like 2 coffees in a day max. But back in the day, I was completely obliterating the entire coffee machine. Anyhow, different story. So I was sitting down with her and I was saying like, all right, so I think you would be a good fit for my agency. She was looking at me like, Stefan, I like know you, like what the fuck are you on about? So I was like, okay, so that will be €1,000 for you. And she was like, okay, let's just do it. I was like, okay, you can sign a contract here. And it was like the weirdest shit ever. But anyhow, I ended up signing my first person who I had contact with for €1,000 back in the day. So I was like, oh fuck, this shit is working. I need to do this. So I ended up then like expanding into 5 clients. I had 3 restaurants. I had a yoga studio. I had like a gym. I had her as an e-commerce brand. So I had like 6-7 clients with a partner doing like 5 to 6K within my first like 2 months. So I was like, okay, this shit is working. Only I'm not left with almost any profit because it's going to my partner and I need to reinvest it back into my business. So what I noticed also with a lot of starting agency owners is that they, especially when they start, at least if you have the right connections already beforehand, is you have 2 things that are going to happen: contraction or expansion. And for me, it was expansion. Like I already got 5-6 clients, but in order for me to grow with my agency, there needed to be like contraction for that as well. So I ended up losing I think going to the mastermind back in the day, I think it was in 2018. And then he told me like, okay, like focus on the restaurant niche, cut your partner, do everything that you need to do. So I cut like 3 clients, ended up leaving myself only with 1 or 2 clients. And then like expanding once again, picking the real estate niche, getting up to 7-8 clients. And that is the niche that I'm still in to this day. So actually last October 2019, hit my first 6-figure month, which was around like 11-12K, with 6-7 clients all paying me between 1,000 to 2,000 euros. And what I decided in March, a month ago, is to once again contract, go to the US market. Actually ended up losing a couple of Dutch clients, so already contracting once again, and now expanding into the US market and building my personal brand authority niche over there. So that's kind of been the journey.
I love that you mentioned that, because it is a very cyclical process when it comes to having an agency. Is kind of when it comes to agency and client load as well as expenses. Like a lot of times you just get a little fat, and then you just got to trim the fat, and you got to trim you get a little fat and you get a little complex a lot of times as well. So, and that's okay. And that's good at certain times, because you're pushing the boundary. And then you assess what the results of that are. And then from there you trim down and you get more streamlined. So yeah, I love that you mentioned that. Now, with your real estate clients, what are you doing to keep retention up?
Yeah, that's a good one. So these are, for some businesses, it can be really difficult times especially for the real estate niche, at least in some states in the US, it can be difficult. But for all my Dutch clients,
I want to say outside of everything that's going on in the world, I'm saying like even like 4 or 5 months ago, just as a agency serving real estate clients, as a general whole, like what are you guys doing to make sure the retention is high?
Yeah, sure. So basically it's really simple. Provide them with really good results so they don't have nothing to complain about. That's basically it. So if we deliver the right results, which is people want to sell their house specifically in the Netherlands, I've talked to them and I asked them like, okay, what do you want from us? Like, what do you want from us as an agency? And they told me like, we would want more people want to sell their house. And if we can achieve that, if you can give me like between 5 to 10 people want to sell their house every single month, and let me stay ahead of my competitors by doing simple like Facebook ads and some email marketing on the side as well, then we can get there. So that's basically what I've been doing, providing them with the right results and actually setting up the entire systems for them with the lead conversion. So what I mean with that is actually not just sending them the leads, but also making sure that the leads get nurtured, qualified, And that once the lead hits their CRM or database, for the people watching, if they don't know what a CRM is, where we have the pipeline full, meaning all the people that fill in their information, they get sent through to them once we know that they're a qualified lead. So we actually take matters into our own hands when it comes to actually qualifying and nurturing the leads. So that's kind of been our process into helping them even more, by not just like, oh, I've sent you 150, 200 leads, 250 leads, and them not signing anyone. We want to actually help them with more stuff. So that's kind of been the retention strategy.
So two questions that spawn from that. Number one is, you mentioned seller leads. Are your clients looking pretty much exclusively for seller leads?
In the Netherlands, yes. But it almost always depends on the client. If a person is just starting, then they need someone, right, to sell their house, because if they don't have anyone wanting to sell their house, they can't have buyers if they don't have listings. So it depends on the clients, but in most cases, for the Dutch clients that I've had, it's mostly seller leads, because if you bring a seller lead, usually they'll also want to buy. So you have two birds with one stone. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Double whammy, double commission right there. Yeah.
I love that you mentioned, and that's kind of what I was hoping that you would mention, is the lead conversion process and nurturing the leads and this and that, because at a certain point, I think when you first start your agency, this is my recommendation to everyone, is when you first start your agency, you need to have very clear boundaries and expectations of what your role is and isn't. And as you, and that's a way as a beginner / intermediate agency owner to protect yourself if your client is like, oh, this, like, especially when it's a little different when it comes to e-commerce and info product, because like the KPI that you're optimizing for is purchase conversion value. Like you can't run away from that. But when it comes to lead generation, the KPI that you're optimizing for is the actual leads brought in, or at least like the end of funnel, whether that's like scheduled call, whether that's like whatever the purest number you have, like right before you pass the baton off to them. So with beginner and intermediate agency owners, I recommend that you like protect that barrier. Once you get into more advanced level, it's a matter of like, okay, you can complain that like you brought your client quality leads, and you can complain that they're not following up and nurturing them themselves, or they're not doing enough to follow up quickly. And it's like, you can complain and cry, or you can just fucking do like take it on board and keep the client. Like one protects your ego, one protects your bottom line and your retention rate. So can you just get a little more specific as to what, like maybe before with your agency, when you were just focused on leads, to now where you're focusing on leads and actually making sure that they're nurtured?
Yeah, sure. So basically when it comes down to when I had the restaurants and the yoga studios, I was like, okay, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So I was doing content creation, social media management, all those kind of stuff. And I noticed like most of us have started with that. But for me, it was like, okay, I can schedule 30 content posts and then you'll get like a fancy Instagram or a fancy Facebook. And they were like, okay, well, I don't care, I want clients. So then I quickly realized, that was a moment that I realized like, okay, I need to be bringing them in clients. And how can I do that through like these online marketing thing that I'm doing? And then I transitioned into Facebook ads and doing all that kind of stuff. So basically for now, it was that transition with like the contraction that I had into getting into real estate, that I realized, okay, they only care about the results. They don't care about any different shit. They only care about the results, and I need to do my best to provide them with the results. And if I can do that, I'm going to be on top of my game. If I don't do that, I'm going to screw up, and I did screw up a little bit. But I practiced that. So in the beginning, when I sent them just the leads, and I was like, okay, so I sent you like 50 leads this month. They were like, okay, but I didn't get a client. And I'm like, okay, I need to do something about this. So I was thinking like, okay, how can I help them as well? So that was beginning in 2019. I was like, okay, let me try out and help them also with their database. Let me try and ask them like, what's the main issue for yourself right now? Because the issue wasn't getting more leads. The issue was actually following up and staying in front of those leads. Because a person doesn't want to like sell, for yourself as well, like a person doesn't want to like sell every single year or every single month. They want to do it usually over a time span of, let's say, 5 to 8 years, depending on the area that you're in. So with that in mind, I was like, okay, if I send you 100 leads and 2 of them want to do it right now, want to sell or buy right now, 98 of them might potentially do that in the future. So by framing it that way to them, they understood like, okay, so he's bringing me those leads, but they are almost all like qualified and they're good. And I didn't have this before. So by just doing that and framing it that way, they understood.
That's gold. That is gold, because that's something we mirror very closely with our info product clients. It's like, okay, yes, like let's say hypothetically we brought them in 1,000 leads. Yes, only 40 of those purchased your program.
Yeah.
But we still got 960 there who are in your email. And like, I shout, but before I used to not, I was like, all right, well, that's not my circle of concern. Now I shout at my clients if they're not doing email marketing. Cause I'm like, you literally got 960 leads right there. Like, and the best part is it's all bottom line because you've already paid for those leads either way. So any extra ounce of efficiency that you can get from it, any extra customer or client that you can get from that, it's all bottom line. So
Sure.
yeah, I even, as you said, even just that simple framing, which is they're like, oh, okay, there's 100 leads or whatever, but it's not, it's only converted to X amount of actual clients for now.
Exactly.
For now, and I think especially in a place in an arena like for real estate agents where it's like it's a big thing, like sometimes, first of all, for everything to clear through escrow and this and that, and the actual process of selling a house takes months, sometimes over a year, as well as like, as you said, not everyone's looking to sell their house right now, but when the time comes, they'll know who they want to sell it with.
Exactly. So yeah, that's kind of the take, like actually making sure that the clients are aware of that, because most of them only think like, oh, I want to do it now, which is great. Short term is great, but you also got to have the long-term vision, which is something I also try to implement with them and tell them like that we are here for the long term. Like we are a team, like we are here to help you. Like we are not here to like get some money and move the fuck out. Like we are here. You can see us as an extension of your own real estate agency. And that's kind of how I build that up with them.
Yeah, as an actual partner.
Yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned even just that little the way that you frame it, that kind of puts clients at ease. But then from a more technical perspective, once that lead comes in through Facebook, what are you guys doing mainly? Primarily native lead gen ads on Facebook, or are you using a funnel, or what does that actual process look like?
Usually what we do is we just use a for Dutch clients, we have a funnel where they get the valuation, but that is actually done through another marketing agency who have set that up all over the Netherlands. So we thought like, why create our own when we can use theirs? So we kind of have a small partnership with them. We still blow them out of the water, but anyhow, in that case, they had their landing page already set up. So I was like, okay, why create another one when we can do that? So in that instance, we send people to get a free home valuation, because if they have their valuation, then afterwards they get sent to the pipeline of the realtor, which is something we create. And
that's done automatically through the software.
That's done automatically. Completely on autopilot. And they fill in their information. They can also say like, oh, I want to sell at my house. I want to buy my house. I want to adjust my mortgage. I want to do something else or anything else, or I'm just curious. So once that happens, once they get like the information of the order free valuation based on the homes that look like their home, so it's like a free test that they can do. Once they get there, we've actually done like, I don't know if I can get into the nitty gritty kind of stuff, like talking about
as in like, get as granular as you want. I prefer it. Just also whatever you're willing to reveal, any of your secrets.
Yeah, dude, I'm completely open. I'm an open book. So once they get in, like we make sure that we pixel them. So once they get through, we actually pixel them as in someone who did the test. So we have that also, like the warmer pixel that we can then use to target people.
Because you mentioned custom conversion standard event. What were you going to mention about that?
Yeah. No, I wanted to mention about that is when the people get into the valuation, the free valuation they can get, once they like fill in their information and they get to the thank you page, we actually make sure that we're also like analytically setting that up correctly, because we want to see who is coming on there and who's leaving without filling in their information. So we track that. But anyhow, once they fill in their information, they get sent into a CRM that we created, which is like where all the people who have filled in their information get sent to. Then we have all that information, which can sometimes be a lot, sometimes up to like 50 to 70 people who are getting into that CRM completely on automatic. We're sending them through to Zapier. So that's something we're utilizing as a software to send them through. And once they come to the CRM, I have an in-house sales team. So someone who is calling the leads from Monday to Friday. And once they call the leads, they qualify them and they send them to another board. And we use Trello as a CRM. So they send them to another board. And once they hit the second board, once they're qualified, then an email gets sent to someone who's working at the real estate agency so they can actually planning a meeting. So the only thing they need to do is actually pick up the phone, plan a meeting, and close the transaction.
Amazing.
Process.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much as I mean you've made it about as easy as humanly possible for your realtors. So with this person who's actually calling these leads and trying to qualify them, how does the payment structure work there? Are they just working on an hourly basis or?
No, I pay them €1. That is right now, €1 per called person. So not like a voicemail that they got or anything else, like a real conversation that they had with a person. I pay them €1, and I tell them to note it down in Trello, because you can then add like a circle with your name on it or something like that you're a member. So if they note it down, I'm doing a checkup every single month, and then I pay them out based on how many leads they called every single month.
So between all your clients, how many people you think they're actually calling and reaching?
So right now I have had 2 people calling just for the real estate agent that I had. They're doing a tremendous job at it, so that is amazing. But they're calling on a daily basis. Within an hour or 2 hours is usually what they're doing. They're calling, I would say, between 20 to 40 people. And not all of them, awesome. you gotta see, like, not all of them are like qualified leads. So some of them get voicemails, right? So
yeah, of course. All right, that's awesome. So how much are you charging on average to your clients?
So it's with the Dutch clients, it's between 1,000, like 1,000 was my minimum. I started off 1.5 years ago with 500 or fees like that. But then I slowly started recognizing, like, okay, all the, not want to say shitty agencies, but all the like lower class agencies were charging a lot less. So I was like, okay, why not charge them higher? Because if someone sells their house through them, it can get them a minimum of 3,000 depending on the commission basis and everything else. So I was like, okay, let's just charge 1,000. It makes sense for them. And that worked out fine. So it's between 1,000 and 2,000 in the Dutch market. Now with the transition to the US market, it's the lowest one I'm going to be charging is 2K. So 2K upwards, but also depending on the situation, because if someone can't handle that or can do that, I'm happy to also get them on board for 1,500 or something like that.
Yeah, I was about to say, look, considering how everything from actually generating the leads to nurturing them, I mean, look, I think between 1,000 to 2,000, you're undercharging. But then again, I guess potentially that's the Dutch market, and I guess that's why you pivoted to the American market. Okay, so that makes sense. So, are you actually delivering the results yourself, or are you going to media buyer?
No, I have someone. Actually, my ex-partner. I've done some things also with him, so he's now doing all the media buying for myself. So yeah,
that's awesome. So, how are you generating most of your leads at the moment for your own agency?
For my own agency, I'm doing mostly like outreach myself, so outbound. And I have 2, I'm just looking at my whiteboard because I've set it up everything yesterday. I have 2 appointment setters right now. One appointment setter was killing it in the Dutch market, making cold calls for realtors, getting me 12 meetings within a month. I think I also mentioned that to you, Iman, in the Q&A. But now he's having some struggles also with transitioning to the US market. So I'm looking at a couple of different strategies also to see like that. But I have 2 appointment setters, meaning people who do the outreach for me based on their own accounts. And they're doing completely outreach. They set up the meeting. They actually have the first call, the warm-up call with the person, 10 to 15 minutes before they send them to me to close them. So that's how I'm getting most of my clients, through LinkedIn, Facebook, by starting a conversation with them, with the potential realtors. Just asking them a couple of questions. How's the market going with everything happening in the world right now? How's your business going and everything else? And that's what my appointment setters are doing, and myself as well. I'm pushing the limits. But next to that, once I sign them, I have a media buyer in place who can take care of the rest. So basically, I just do the meeting, which I'm also looking. I know, Iman, yet you said like that's something you can't outsource them. I'm looking at things a way also to outsource that, but perhaps we can talk about that later on. But
what, to outsource the sales?
Structure. Yeah.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Trust me.
Why not? Why not?
I make this point all the time. It's because, like, look, technically, can you do it? Yes. Like, technically, can you generate the leads through Facebook ads, do a 1-call close, and then never show up to any client meetings again after that? Yes, you can, because that's what I did all of 2019. Like 2019, I pushed the fucking limit. 80% of our clients came in through the case study funnel. I think maybe like 1 client, I had a 2-call close, but and that was only if there was a partner involved. Never ever had a 2-call close. It was also a 1-call close. Then I went on so I would spend anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes closing the client. I would spend 30 minutes on that initial strategy session, introducing the team, and after that and everything else. And then I would never show up to any client calls. And that was the expectation. Like, and yes, I was still a presence in the Slack channel. Like, yes, if they, at Iman me, I would respond. But my point, the reason I say this is because just because you can doesn't mean you should. Like, I have no way to tangibly quantify this, but I feel as though my retention could have been even higher if I was more of an imposing figure. It's really cool to know that, like, I literally automated everything. The only thing that I didn't automate was sales. And I know, and Danny's been itching. Danny wants to, we're hiring a second media buyer now. So our client capacity will go up to around like 20. So Danny actually wants to close the clients now. And I'm like, and if I get that in place, that means that we're generating the leads through ads. I'm not closing them. I'm not delivering the services. Obviously my team's delivering it. And potentially if Danny closes the clients, I probably don't even need to show up to the strategy session even, because he'll just be the chief marketing executive officer at that point. So my point is, in my opinion, just because you can doesn't mean you should. So what we're doing is we're moving to two call closes strategy this year. Once again, 80% of these are coming in through Facebook ads. The rest are going to come in through appointment setters or referrals. Danny's taking the initial 15-minute call to qualify them, and then I'm doing the second call to close. And the way that I see it is, let me ask you actually, what is your max capacity a month? Like how many extra clients could you onboard a month, do you think?
So it comes down, like, for the calculation that I did with the clusters and everything else, it's between 5 to 7 at the max, I would say, with the current team that I have in place.
Additional a month.
Additional a month, yeah.
Okay,
right now.
So for you to close, okay. So and what's your closing percentage?
Closing percentage is between, I would say, 20, depending also on like the people that I'm speaking with, because not all of them are like qualified warm leads. I would say between 25, 30, something like that. 25 to
30. So the way that I see it is, okay, so for you to close 5 clients a month, you're going to need to, and by the way, 5 clients additional, and you're doing 2,000 minimum. So to add an extra 10,000 a month, not 10,000 a month in terms of your, like, additional recurring revenue, and you do a 3-month minimum. Yeah, so you're doing you're guaranteed at least 3 months, and I'm sure your retention, you quite clearly, you know what you're doing on the service delivery aspects. Your retention is, I honestly don't see it less than 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months. So you got a good retention rate. So look, for you to close 5 clients and onboard 5 clients a month, you would have to have 20 to 25 calls. So so basically 20 to 25 days of the month, you need to have a 45-minute call. So for me, it's like, first of all, if you pit it off to someone else, if you get someone else to close it, once again, you can, but your closing percentage will go down 100%, hands down.
For sure.
Because you're the founder. No one will ever have a higher closing percentage than you as the founder, as the person who obviously owns the company, as the one who commands the authority, the respect, the one who's showcasing and talking in the case study, the one who is plastered everywhere. As well as, I don't think anyone will be able to sell it better than you, because this world isn't selling a $200 software or like selling like a $300 product or whatever. It's like, it can get technical sometimes on the call. Most of the time it actually doesn't get super technical, which I also think a lot of people have misconceptions about. Like, you and I both know that a lot of times you don't really go into the nitty gritty, but for the times that you do on the actual sales call, I mean, damn, you need someone who knows what they're talking about. Not just your bog standard sales guys. So for me, I think that, like, dude, for you to have 20, like Monday to Friday, for you to have 1 call a day, like, what other more high leverage thing is there? I mean, for you to have 4 calls a day.
Yeah, but it's like, I want to push this shit to the limit. I want to see like how automated can it get. Okay, as I said, just because you can doesn't mean you should. What I would love to see you do, and what we're doing this year actually is, so as I said, we're having Danny do the first 15-minute call. Another thing that we're going to try to do is go straight to book call, and then on Calendly you can just reassign, or same thing on Acuity scheduling, reassign. So anyone who is doing 50K a month or less goes to Kieran. Anyone who's doing 50K a month or more will get reassigned to me. So we're also thinking of doing it that way, or Kieran or Danny will close, or potentially Max. We're still figuring out with that model.
at first I'm starting off with a 15-minute wedge call with Danny, and then it goes to me after I qualify. But and so my point is, I think you pushing it, I think you challenging yourself this year, and obviously, this is stuff we've been talking about in Copy Paste Agency on Q&As together. Like, dude, I'd love to see you have fucking 5 meetings a day. Like I'd love to see you onboard 10 to 20 clients a month. And by the way, that is so much harder. Not in terms of sales. I'm not saying in terms of lead generation sales. That's not the tough bit. When you're onboarding 10 to 20 new clients a month, then your nightmare is on the operational side. So I'd love to see you fucking have 3 to 4 meetings a day. Like, that's what I'd love to see you do. And be able to cope with that in terms of your service delivery.
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of the thing, because honestly, I've, like I said, the 2 appointment setters, and then I'm still doing the outreach myself. So through Facebook, LinkedIn, and all those other stuff. Yeah. But once I told the team, like, once I get like 3 clients, 4 clients, I'm going to position myself out of that. And then I'm going to like observe it with a bird's eye view. Like, okay, what steps am I going to take? But that's something that's been lingering in my mind. I was like, okay, that's potentially something I could be trying. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, as in like getting someone else to close the sales for you?
Yeah. I'm definitely going to try it, but
I think try it. Try it. I think you'll have the same realization that I had last year with the not coming to client check-in calls. Like, literally after that first strategy session, I would never be on any of the client check-in calls. As I said, my presence would be still there and felt. It's not like I was just like totally abandoned them. And also that was the expectation. Like, Danny and Kieran, you're having the calls with them. But as I said, I think you'll come to a realization, which is you can, but it doesn't mean you should. But I guess but that's a cool thing. It's like an agency is a very I almost want to refrain from saying simple business model, but it's not as multifaceted as, like, say, for example, speaking from experience, having an e-commerce line, speaking from experience, having an education company. It's really like get clients, like generate leads, sell them, and get really good service. Like, it's really down to 3 things. And like generating leads, you're almost at that point where like you don't have to do it yourself because you got 2 appointment setters, right? Selling, as you said, you test out getting someone else to do it for you, and then service delivery, you've already got automated and you've got your team doing it. So it's,
I will never forget that you told me at the mastermind 2018, like, there's only 2 things you need to do, which is the sales and the service delivery. If you do those on par, you'll do everything. That's something that's been always in my mind. Like, okay, this is such an amazing business model. So I just want to say I'm really thankful that you positioned yourself the way you did like 2-3 years ago, and still doing as of for right now, to make people aware of the opportunities that they can take through your education company and the things that you're doing. Because honestly, it transformed my life, all the things that I'm doing, and also for the people following me and then following you and everything else. It's been enlightening to see how everything has been turning out and going along the way. Of course, there's been ups and downs, especially last year for myself speaking personally, but I'm definitely really thankful for what you're doing at this moment and what you've been doing too. Because if I didn't see that video, if I didn't get to know you, like, who knows where I would end up, right?
I appreciate that, dude. So last question, what is the rest of 2020 looking like for you with your agency?
Yeah, so now we're pushing into the limits, man. Like, honestly, I'm chipping away every single day, working my ass off with my team, with the media buyers. So my goal is to hit 25K profits with the US market. So just with the US market, because I feel like it's a different niche that I'm like transitioning into. So setting all the systems in place, getting my case study launched, getting everything else launched, my team in place, and then getting those clients on board, it will be easy. So 25K profit, that's kind of the aim for this year with the agency.
Boom. Knowing your prowess when it comes to lead gen and sales, and knowing your attention to detail when it comes to the service delivery aspect of things, 25 is a very low target for you. I have zero doubts that you're going to be able to hit that.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I've heard some people also say like, oh, 25, that's actually low. I was like, let's just first see how that is going.
Let's get to that first.
Let's get to that first. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, dude, this has been awesome. Like I always mention with the student interviews, like, before anything else, I've tried so hard to make sure that these are so different from other like student interviews. Like, oh, what's your best piece of advice? Like, invest in yourself. Like, I like to fucking hound the person that I'm talking to and really get into their mind and really just get them to reveal as many of their secrets as humanly possible. So I feel as though I've done a decent job here, and I feel as though I'm just very grateful that you were able to share as much with the audience as you were.
Sure, dude. Thanks so much. Pleasure being here. I hope the viewers got some golden nuggets out of this conversation.